give this another go. It's now nearly it's now nearly like 3 days after. Oh, actually, it's over 3 days. Well, no, it's 3 days. We're almost there, halfway to the next episode. Okay, I still haven't been able to get my review of Loki out. I tried to do it yesterday, and then I got interrupted. So, Loki, episode 4, or the WTF episode, because we had a lot going on in there at this particular episode. Sorry, I'm just taking my socks off. I'm in our room. I can be comfortable. So yeah, a lot happened. I've heard a lot of people talking about, what they thought of this episode, where it stands for them in terms of the overall episodes, if it's their favorite episode or not. I will say this is probably my favorite episode of the series. I think this first episode is my second favorite now. Second's the third, and the third is the least favorite. I still fall into the camp of people who really like the third episode, but it was probably the least good of the series. But I mean, like, beat for beat, let's just talk about this episode. I think that's the best way to talk about it, is going beat for beat. Like that cold open when they basically came to take Sylvie away. That was actually a really harsh opening. You see this little girl just playing and minding her own business and like enjoying things, and then these people she's never seen before are just robotically telling her to go. And we'll get more into this as we go on, but they are doing a great job of making Ravonna really unlikable. Like, just, I'm following the rules, but I might be in on it. From the way it's being depicted, I think she's in on it. Because she obviously covered up, the death of the other agent. That she herself, the death, as we learn, it's not really a death. The pruning, if you will, of the other agent. So the fact that she covered it up tells me she's in on it. It tells me she's in on it. And yeah, I mean, because in the comics let's keep going. And then we do finally get more of Sylvie's backstory, finally. And I'll say this, I think, I didn't like her in the third episode. I've heard some people say they didn't find the chemistry with her and Tom Hiddleston that good. I thought it was pretty decent. And honestly, I think this episode so far is the best we've seen the character at, where we see her reminiscing about Asgard. That scene with her and the other TV agent, who again I can't remember their moniker. She was the actress from His House. That was such a good scene. It's like, show me. And you see that, but I mean, a lot of people just are talking about, particularly like the people I like to watch, like her saying, "Show me." But then you see her break down. Apparently, she was really crying. Like, as an actress, she was really crying, but the rain was making it disappear. And just that line is like, she says that I looked happy. And you can see Sylvie actually very much sympathizing with this woman. I love that fact that Sylvie, despite obviously having murdered a lot of people in her life, isn't, as Loki put it, no one who's evil is entirely evil. No one who's good is entirely good. Sylvie is neither. She is very much a Loki in the sense that she is all over the place, but she's very sympathetic to this person because just like her, she was plucked. I really love that. I really like that scene a lot. Then, but we get Mobius back. I love the drop of vampires. A little nod to Blade coming eventually. And so, Loki, has to. I like the fact that Loki is actually telling the truth and Mobius doesn't believe it, so he just lies to him to just give him what he wants. And he gets thrown into that loop prison of like one of his worst hits. Hardly probably in his top 10 of worst hits, but still. And you can see too, Loki basically telling him the truth. And I loved New Rockstar's take on the scene, which I love New Rockstar's job when they do those analysis videos. Oh, it's great. Where he's talking about, the whole darkness covering him, or the light shining on the light of truth. And you can see Mobius almost believing it, and then going back and denying. And Loki even says, "It's like I can't stand it. What? That I lied about your girlfriend? No, I can respect that. No, it's the lies you tell yourself." You can see, and obviously Mobius was still uncertain because there's something about Loki that gets to him, that he does trust on some level. So the question is, what is it about Loki that he trusts? Is it the fact that he's just got interesting intuition? Is he a Loki variant himself? Most likely that's not the case. It's most likely he, where I'd love to go? You know what I'd love to go? Wherever he took me from. Maybe I had a family. Maybe I owned a jet ski. I'd like to ride that jet ski. And then he pruned him. Obviously, we know he's coming back. He's in some of the previews for the rest of the series. Because we know now pruning does not mean you die. whatever they're actually doing, it seems like they're sending you someplace that you're not going to cause trouble, allegedly. But either way, like that, and yeah, the whole Ravonna thing again, going back to it, she's like, they're closing out the case, having a drink, and she's got these trophies, and he switches up and he sees the whole, she faked the death of that agent, and then she just so callously just blitzes him prunes him out of existence, if you will. But let's sidebar for a little bit and go into that Lady Sif, man, Jamie Alexander. Man, it was so good to see her back. Now, obviously, she's not back, but we know she wasn't on Asgard at the time where it was destroyed. It's very likely she is still alive in the universe. And obviously, the actor is still very much welcome to come back and play the character, or actress is very much welcome to come back and play the character as she did. So there's been no indication she's in Thor: Love and Thunder, but who's to say she isn't, or won't show up in something else, maybe a Valkyrie spin-off movie, who knows. But I love the fact that he's basically in a constant loop of being kicked in the groin and just punched, like, I had a hot bath and a glass of wine, and I never thought about it again, because it's just a memory. And it's like, no. And I love the fact that every time he tries, he realizes that, he's lied so many times to her that it's not going to work. But what I really liked about that scene more than anything else is how it ultimately ended. Because, obviously, Owen Wilson comes back. It's like, you're right about everything. Placing trust in, how about a friend and all that. So, and the minute he says that, it's like, Owen Wilson's going to get taken out. But what I liked about that scene with Sif and Loki is you think this is like a memory or a time loop. Or a memory that's on a time loop. But if that were the case, there would not have been a change in her overall reaction, no matter what he said. So what I think actually happened was they did send him back into that point in time when that happened. It's just like he's now occupying that space and time where he was at that point in his life. Because when he basically confesses about why he does what he does, I want attention, I'm lonely, and I'm afraid. She doesn't hit him that time. She gives him an arm up, and she does. First off, and she does give him an earful and says, "You were always going to be alone." And she walks off, but she didn't hit him. That's actually what tells me he actually was in a time loop, and that was legitimately Sif. It wasn't just a memory; it was legitimately Sif. I will say though, from Sif's point of view, I'm like, that's a little harsh. Loki's obviously done a lot of stuff to you and everyone in his day, but he's the god of mischief, girl. Come on. Like, saying that he's always going to be alone and all, like, that's a little harsh for just cutting your hair, which you know will grow back. Like, I get it. Being angry in the middle, like, I've got plenty of female friends, so if someone had done that to them, yeah, their immediate reaction probably would be to get it, like, hit the person who did it, or give them an earful. But to say they're always going to be alone is a little on the harsh side. I'm not going to lie. Regardless, though, yeah, then you move on to the episode. The episode opened up, too, with the shot of Ravonna going to talk to the timekeeper. Sorry, there was something on my face there. Yeah, it's all good. Talk to her, and we just see those glowing eyes and that seal or symbol, which I heard, again, New Rockstars pointed out great, looked kind of like one of the runes that witches use to prevent magic from being used. So that might be why magic can't actually be used in the TVA, that there is some sort of interdimensional witch rune that's preventing them from using magic. That's actually not a bad theory. That we've seen that's what WandaVision established that, so why not use it on the grander scale? But yeah, then we get them taking Sylvie and Loki to see the timekeepers. And this is another scene where it's very clear. I think Ramona is either in on it or she's just on some sort of cloud nine high with her authority. Because Sylvie asks her, "Do you remember what my Nexus event was? What was my Nexus event?" And she just has this smug smile. She's like, "I don't remember." And it's like, wow, they are really doing a good job of making you not very likable. That's like prime grade A douche right there. So then you finally get the reveal of the Timekeepers, or so we thought. And I'll admit, I actually had some difficulty hearing what they were saying. I don't usually watch with the subtitles on. But I had some difficulty hearing or understanding what they were saying. And I'm looking at it like, this can't be it. There's still 2 episodes left. And I'm still going with the idea that these guys, there's someone else behind the Timekeepers. But I'm like, we have them physically here. So I'm like, they're physically here. But I'm like, looking at them, I'm like, do they seem sort of Pirates of the Caribbean to you? I mean, like the ride, like, are these guys kind of like all animatronic-y or something like that? And sure enough, they're androids. They're not real. They're physically there, at least in terms of like in the concept of the world. Whether or not they're CGI is a different thing entirely. If they made actual animatronics or not, maybe. But yeah, there's clearly someone else behind the TVA. A Loki mess. Who created the TVA? That's the $1 million question. Now the big 2 theories I've heard on this is that A, it's Kang the Conqueror, which would fit in with Ravonna because Ravonna is a love interest of his in the comics, and we know he's going to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3: Quantumania. So the idea that he is that Kang could be behind this is not far-fetched at all. Actually, it'd be a different interpretation, obviously, of Kang, but it's not that far-fetched. But the other option I've heard is a certain type of Loki, where he's one of his objectives is to get rid of all the other Lokis because he is a superior Loki. But that actually doesn't really make a lot of sense, because wouldn't that mean that the Primed get that he's a variant, sure, but the Prime timeline Loki still exists, so why would a Loki actually be behind it? That's the $1 million question here, is like, why would a Loki be doing this? But there is, the third option is it's just a random other character that we haven't met yet. But there is the one, not the one at the, not the one above all, not the one below all, but the one at the end of all, who is the actual being who created the time. He basically exists at the end of time itself. And maybe we'll see an interpretation of that character, or some sort of like play on that. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, I wasn't expecting Loki to get pruned. Like, I'm like, the fuck? No, Loki, no. It's like, what? Wait, but I'm like, wait, I know he's in more of the series. We've seen that. Oh, we still need that President Loki scene. And I've seen like pics, like another pic where we see him run, like our Loki running in the back of that scene. So obviously, and then we see him wake up in the post-credit scene, and we see the other Lokis looking over him. We get the kid Loki. I don't remember the name of the bigger Loki. And they get classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, man. All I saw with that is the Vision Halloween costume where he looked like a luchador. So obviously, then, President Loki is most likely another variant that's existing in this world. And he's probably got his own gang, and then that gang turns on him. So we're probably actually in this next coming episode, we're probably going to end up meeting a lot of variants of Lokis. I'm just thinking about the alligator. The alligator Loki. I think that's a pet of that kid Loki. Maybe it's a reference to like Throg or something like that. So yeah, we got a lot of Loki coming this next Loki. Overall, and we know Owen Wilson's still alive thanks to that. Then we know although he was pruned, he wasn't killed, and we know from some previews that he will show back up in later episodes. Ultimately, I loved this episode. It really brought up a lot of questions, though. What the hell is going on? Who's behind the TVA? How the hell is Loki? Where is Loki? How is Loki going to get out of where he is? So much to deal with. But honestly, is Loki going to make it out of his own series? That's, I think, a really big question. Is Loki going to make it out of the series? Because the whole Nexus event that they are creating, the Apocalypse, shouldn't have happened because the Apocalypse was, going to wipe everything out. So it shouldn't have mattered. However, a good theory I've heard is that the Nexus event was them dying on there because they weren't supposed to. Not a bad idea. Like, him falling in love with her is not, I doubt, is a Nexus event. But who knows? And yeah, I like that. That's the ultimate definition of narcissism, falling in love with yourself, which me and my girlfriend are having the whole philosophical debate of the concept of identity and oneself. If you were to fall in love with an alternate version of yourself, is it truly narcissism if there's a huge difference in how you are? Like if there's a female version of me, we meet and we fall in love. Is that self-narcissism, or is that the ultimate description of narcissism, or is there enough differences between us where that's not the case? I don't know. I mean, in Sylvie and Loki's case, I would say there's actually enough differences between them where it would not be narcissism. Then again, if he were to fall in love with a alternate male version of himself, we can clearly see like President Loki's got a lot more Loki-isms to him than say Sylvie does. So that might be, and plus physical appearances and everything too. It's like, yeah, if you look like me, that's a different thing entirely. Like if my girlfriend actually looked exactly like me, but is a woman my age, Trisha means, that would be awkward. That would be awkward. But anyway, I mean, that's my thoughts on the Loki episode. What did you think about it? Put in the comments below, let me know. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know the review at some point, and hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.